Hi everyone, it's Tawney. I have the cutest little baby hairs that are like trying to make a Dwight part in the middle of my head. So that's fun. Let's just ignore that. I have not been doing my makeup much lately. I've been in like the biggest funk I think I've ever, well, I don't want to say the biggest funk I've ever been in my life, but it's like right up there, that it's like not the best funk. It's still not great, even if it might not be the worst funk of my life. I find it funny that a lot of times when we go through something so traumatizing, whatever it may be, you know, the loss of someone, a breakup, just things happening in your life, whatever it may be, that we like to film about it and talk about it. I'm not someone that likes to cry and film myself doing it, but I have done it. Can't say I haven't. It was one of those things where like I didn't plan on filming and crying, and then the crying happened and it was like, well, you're filming and you're crying, so here's where we're at. But we're not going to do that today. I might get the sniffles because I've been having the sniffles a lot lately, like a little too much, and I think it's like the allergies kicking in because I'm not sick. I haven't really been like out doing much to like get sick, so you know, hopefully it's not a concern. I recently went to the doctor and got some blood work done, and they called me to tell me like the results, and they're like, are you a smoker? And like, you know, like cigarette, nicotine, that kind of smoke, maybe vaping too. I don't really know if that, you know, I don't do those things, so it's not something I have to be concerned with. And she was like, do you smoke? And I was like, no. And I always say it like that. I'm never the type to like, oh no, you know, like cigarette smoke is gross. I don't do it. I'm not, you know, not one of those people. And I was like, no, I don't do that stuff. Like, you know, don't know why you asked me that, because I very clearly say no. And she was like, okay, well, your like blood or whatever is showing like amounts of nicotine or something. And I was like, I feel like all these years of working around people, whether they're coworkers, clients, passerbys and bystanders and whatnot that have been smoking, has like caused me to develop secondhand smoke damage and whatnot. And now I'm like freaking out that something serious is like horrifically wrong with me. So I'm going to talk to the doctor about it and be like, is there anything I can like do to work? Like, you know, I'd love to be able to walk around places with a respirator on, but that's just not possible, especially when you work with people that, you know, you go into homes where they either smoke in the home or they just smoke and then it kind of just clings to you. Like I've been in places where, hold on, I need to find foundation I want to wear today. We're going to use this one because I seem to be gravitating towards this a lot lately, a lot. Everything's obviously going to be pretty much drugstore for the most part. But I've gone into places where I leave and my jacket just like reeks of cigarette smoke, and then I end up having to like come home and do laundry because the smell was like grossing me out. And that's kind of the only thing I can really do to like get rid of the smell. I try and use like disinfectant spray and stuff, but that can only do so much. Like if it's, you know, embedded in the fibers, you're sort of just at the mercy of, you know, like, I feel like the only thing you can do is wash it. But I don't know, that's just kind of the reality of being a social worker, I guess. I've been recently into true crime documentaries lately. Been on a big kick of that. And I don't want to say like I'm a big true crime fanatic, but I definitely watch a good bit of documentaries and such. I finished the OJ documentary, and I have to say, I'm still mad about the verdict. I don't think I was alive when that was, you know, I was born in 95, so I was maybe an idea at that time, but I was not, I don't think, born whenever the verdict was whenever it happened, because I think it was in 95 that they announced like whether he was guilty or not, essentially. And the whole thing is like so mind-boggling. And I want to make a point. I watched the People versus O.J. Simpson, the thing that Ryan Murphy did, the He is the guy that creates American Horror Stories and all of that stuff with Cuba Gooding Jr. and, oh my gosh, the chick that like is super famous on, she was Nurse Ratched and all of that stuff. That chick, can't remember her name, but she was in it. She played Marsha Clark. I'm gonna use the Hydrating Camo Concealer today. Just stay drugstore. I mean, pretty much stay drugstore, but you know, just gonna use this one. But I watched that one, and that was like a way more in depth. You kind of get the whole like gist of everything, like more involved. And the one that I just watched on Netflix was sort of like an overview, so I didn't really go into as much detail, but since I had watched that other show, I felt like I kind of got the gist and understood, you know, what happened and everything. And I have to say, that whole thing grinds my gears. And I don't know, like, the issue that I've been, like, that I've stumbled upon after watching, it's the documentary that's just came out on Netflix. That's the one I'm talking about, in case you all are, you know, confused or whatever. But I am irritated at the fact that, so Rodney King, I believe, had just been, you know, deceased by the police, and it was like unrightful and, you know, like unjust and everything, and people were rioting over that. I think it was Rodney King. Don't quote me on that. I wasn't live for this, so I'm trying to like do my best to recall this. But from what I've learned, you know. So the riots were happening in LA. People were very distrustful of the police. So there were the riots happening, and people just felt like, you know, white police were attacking African-American civilians, that's the word. And they were being, you know, like hurt and possibly, you know, like, and people were going to jail over dumb stuff. And it was just like the cops were going out of their way to torment the lives of African-Americans or anyone that just wasn't white. I feel like that just sort of, anyone that wasn't white. So everyone was like really upset at that. And then this OJ stuff happens. And, you know, OJ was black and Nicole and Ron were white. And I feel like that caused a lot of like tension between people. I'm gonna go in. You all know me, I'm not a cream girly, but I really like this Revolution bronzer. So I'm gonna go in with this and bronze up my face. And then we'll go in with some more powder products. But so everyone was already on edge because of the riots, and then this incident happens where 2 white people were slain, and it was suspected that it was OJ, you know, like he disappeared, left, everyone's like, hey, what's going on? You know, this is kind of odd. Like they spent a lot of time discussing that he just sort of like vanished and then came back. And then it was whenever he was announced a suspect and they wanted to take him in for questioning that he did the infamous Bronco chase. So Juice and AC are on the run, running from the cops, which to me is a like sign that you're guilty, that you did it, that, you know, you don't want them to find you because you don't want them to figure out that you are capable of doing this and that you're the one who did it. And that like right there bugged me. So they caught him and took him in, and then they did the trial and everything. And the fact that this is the part that like really, I'm gonna use the L'Oreal bronzer. Actually I'm gonna go in with powder first. I'm gonna use the Essence Brighten Up powder, banana powder. And the police, you know, did their investigations and they found things, and there were socks and gloves. Stupid gloves. It still makes me mad every time I hear about the stupid gloves. And, you know, they found all this evidence, took all these pictures, found blood and whatnot. And then they go to trial and they're like, wait a second, this blood that was here along the fence, covered in powder now, they're like, this blood that we found wasn't in this picture from days prior. And they kept finding evidence way after the fact. So then it was like the cops are like, not doing their job to like actively, you know, document this crime scene and like get evidence and proof and whatnot, and just even like take the freaking pictures of the crime scene. So there was so much that like got missed, that got dropped. People didn't get called to the stand that should have got called to the stand. Then you have that one policeman, I can't remember his name, he gets called up and he lies on, you know, the thing about using the N-word. He's like, I never did that, I'm not a racist, I would never do that. Well, then they pull up documentation or like video evidence of him saying it repeatedly. And, you know, he claimed that he did it for his friend was writing a script or a playwright or something. She was writing some script for something. And he said it because it was about, you know, police brutality and things like that. And it was just kind of like making up stuff. But the dude later on admitted, you know, like his current day self was talking to the Netflix documentary people, like the cameramen and stuff, and was like, I did it, I said it, can't take it back. It is what it is, you know, we just have to deal with the fact that it was said and done and I can't take that back. And I feel like that's kind of good accountability to be taken for saying what you did and knowing that you shouldn't have said it and that it wasn't okay. Like, it's, you know, he didn't deny it. He didn't say that he, you know, all of this stuff. So that was, I felt like that was good accountability on his part. This blush always like packs a punch. It's this fancy blush in my butter half. And then they call up this other guy and he's like, I plead the fifth. And everyone's like, we've never heard a policeman on stand say he pleads the fifth, which is like, so all of this stuff went down that they couldn't prove what happened, what they saw, what pictures were taken when, all of this evidence. So the cops are already like on thin ice. It's not looking too good for all of them. And then you pull up Juice, OJ, and they're like, hey, we have these gloves. I think they were like Armani gloves or some sort of like black leather glove. They call him up and they're like, we want you to try on these gloves. These look like gloves that we've seen you wear. Like, this is a prime, you know, whoever wore these gloves did it, was basically what they were implying. And it's the infamous saying, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. I feel like I hear it and I'm like, oh, that's the OJ trial. I know that. So he tries on the gloves. And when I was watching The People versus OJ Simpson, you know, the Ryan Murphy American Horror Story type thing, I felt like, now this was just a reenactment. This wasn't the actual, like, what, I mean, they might have gone back and forth. I can't remember. It's been a long time since that aired and I watched it. But I didn't feel like Juice tried to put those gloves on well enough to make them fit. And there was a dude that was being interviewed that was Team OJ, which kind of like irked me, but you know, you gotta have both sides. So I do, you know, credit for Netflix for having both sides of the party instead of just, you know, the people against him and the people for Nicole and Ron. The dude says, clearly the gloves didn't fit and they, you know, obviously it wasn't him. And I'm just thinking, he didn't even try and put the glove on right. Like, he was like tugging on parts of the glove that like wasn't going to go, like, wasn't going to go on or wasn't going to go anywhere. So like, obviously it's not going to fit on there right. I'm like, I kind of feel like someone that's an impartial, like not on either side, should have went up and kind of like over, you know, watched the way he was putting them on and like did more to it, because that was pretty much the defining, he didn't do it. So this was the criminal the criminal case. And then I found out that they did a civil case where it was, they said that the civil case was to prove that, not that he was guilty, but like not to say he did it, but to say that like more likely than not was how they worded it. More likely than not, he was the prime, you know, person that committed this. So he was found guilty in that situation, and which I found super interesting, that it was like all of this evidence, whether it was right or wrong, true or false, prove that he was right or whatever, there was enough happening that they were able to say, you did it. So I was kind of like super intrigued at the whole thing, because this is something I hadn't like, didn't know up until this point. But so I found that whole thing so interesting. And then whenever they revealed the verdict, this is what I was getting to earlier, but got off topic a little bit. So when they revealed the verdict, they showed groups of African American people cheering and celebrating and say, we knew the juice was innocent. We knew he didn't do it. Like, we were rooting for you. We believed in you. All of this stuff, like the cops are pigs and this is what, you know, blah, 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 all of that stuff. And it kind of irks me that all of this occurred not long after the riots and all of this untrust with the LAPD and police officers in general. Because to me, this felt like it wasn't so much about OJ, but more about justice for African Americans versus policemen and or whites. And maybe I feel this way because I am white, but I just kind of felt like it just gave me a bad taste in my mouth, because I, for the longest time, always felt like OJ did it, and it was just like they could never fully prove. But I watched so many interviews with him that were just so suspicious, that just like, if you didn't do it, say you didn't do it, you know, say you have an alibi, say that all of this, you know, like, have factual proof that it wasn't you, because if it, you know, without that, I'm just going to assume that it was you and you did it and all of this. So I've just always been like, it was him. So seeing this just kind of like irritated me, because to me, it just feels like it was more justice for African Americans and not justice for a, you know, crime that was committed. And then there was a guy, I can't remember who he was, but he was, you know, Team OJ. And he had said he was talking to OJ not long after the verdict and everything and all of this was resolved. And he was like, did you do it? Like, would you tell me you did it? Like, I want to know. And OJ goes, if I tell you, then I'd have to you. And the dude was like, oh my gosh, like, what? Just, you know, what are you saying? And he's like, if I wouldn't have opened the door and Nicole wouldn't have been standing there with the knife, I wouldn't have done it. And the dude was like, I was so Team OJ leading up to like that moment. He's like, I was so sure that he didn't do it. But he's like, that made me so scared. He's like, I didn't sleep well that night. That was the last time I really ever talked to him. He's like, I just didn't feel safe around him. And I'm like, for your confidant, for someone who like trusts you, and you know, when the verdict happened, he said he took his kids out of school to celebrate that Uncle OJ was free and he didn't do it. And you know, everyone's not blaming him for doing something he didn't do anymore and blah, blah, blah. And you know, it was a victory for the whole family and whatnot. For him to say that, I was just like, I like jaw dropped when they revealed that. And I was like, I just like can't believe it. So I just sort of, maybe it's the social worker in me, maybe it's the feminist in me, maybe it's the girl power in me that just like feels like there wasn't enough done to protect Nicole. You know, like there was stuff that happened prior to all of that that was like, something's gonna happen, it's gonna be him, he's gonna do something, and then, you know, boom, she's gone. And then right after I finished that one, I watched the one about Gabby Petito. And wouldn't you know, similar situations where it was something bad happened, I don't feel safe around this person, I think something's gonna happen to me, and then, you know, something happens. And it just feels like women are never trusted when they say that they don't feel safe, and they're never like, is enough done to make them feel safe and protected and all of this. And that just like, and that scene where the cops were called on them for fighting, and the cops like leave her alone in the van and buy him a hotel room and say, don't talk to her, like it'll be fine. And it's like, she is over here crying and like so distraught. And her mom said that whenever she saw the clip later on, she's like, I've never seen Gabby act that way. Like that was like hysterical for her, and she's not usually like that. And I was like, the fact that they just like didn't, you know, and even that the woman police officer didn't really do any more than she did was just so much like, poor Gabby, like she just deserves so much more and like so much better. and she just wasn't. And then, you know, now she's gone. And I mean, let's talk about the fact that the detective, showed up to Brian's parents' house and they said, he's here, we're not talking, we have a lawyer, talk to them. It was like, you mean to tell me you're harboring a fugitive, you got a lawyer, you're not talking to cops? What is that like? You want me to think that nothing happened and that everything's fine? And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, admit your guilt. I feel like the parents need to be, you know, brought into the situation and taken to court and jail and everything, because this is like not okay, you know. And a like 20-something-year-old woman is now gone because of something your son did, and you're like protecting him over this. Like, I just, blows my mind. And then the fact that he like, she was hurt and I didn't know what to do, so I just like ended it and I just can't go on without her. Yeah, you never like seemed that way in any of the videos and any of the like things that the friends said, and it was just all like, I don't know, I just don't buy so much of all of that. It's just like, it's so heartbreaking, because the whole time I'm just like, this girl needs justice, because this is just like, and I mean, you can only do so much whenever the other person is gone. All right, we're not using drugstore for our setting spray. I started using this Max Fix Plus a while ago, and let me tell you, I wish I would have jumped on the hype train years ago, because this is like some of the best setting spray I've ever used. Like, I can wear makeup that like, you ever put on makeup and it's the kind that like over time gets better, looks better, just like sits better on your face, you know? This stuff like accentuates that and makes it like happen faster, I guess. The e.l.f. Lash Extender Mascara. I think it was Jessica Braun or Emily Noel that said it was like a staple product of theirs. And I just think it's okay, but I'm trying to give it a go, see how I feel about it, because I haven't used it much since I got it. So I need to use it since I have it. Yeah, I don't hate it. It's not like, I'm not in love with it, but I don't hate it. It looks fine. I'm watching This Is the Zodiac documentary on Netflix right now. And then the next one I'm going to watch is the one about Ruby Frankie, because I'm highly invested in that whole thing. Ever since the oldest daughter released her book about what happened and everything, I've been super interested in the whole thing. And I haven't gotten yet to read her book. I really want to listen to the audiobook, because she does the audio for her own book. And I just think that's so fascinating, because you have more of that like emotional pull, because it's her reading her own experience, talking about her life, that it makes me want to listen to it. So I'm going to maybe get the audiobook from my library. Shameless plug to the library system. I'm going to use the Maybelline Ultimate Lip thing in more sepia. And then I got a walking pad right after Christmas with some Christmas money. So I'm going to maybe listen and walk at the same time. And then I can get some steps in and I can get some exercise, because I've been really working on that. That's been my New Year's resolution, is to exercise more. And not so much to lose weight, but that is, you know, like plus of exercising and, you know, being more physically active. But I want to just like be healthier, because I feel like that's something that like for a long time I was like lacking on. But, you know, I'm been trying, you know, I'm trying to do my makeup a little bit more and like care a little bit more about myself, because whenever I have children, I want to be at a healthy place to have those children. And that's something my dad always kind of pushed for. Like, he always told me that like, you want to be healthy for your children, so then that way your children will be healthy because you're healthy. And I want to, you know, strive for that. I don't know when I will have children, but you know, at some point I want to be healthy enough to like take care of them and everything. So maybe I won't go with a lip gloss. I'm not a lip gloss girly. I have a couple, because I've been like really trying to do lip gloss, and it's not my thing. Not my thing at all. Yeah, thanks for watching this video. This is the finished look. I'm not mad at it because I think with my hair and like the black shirt and everything, it kind of fits fairly well. Let me fix the part in the back of my head. Okay. All right, there we go. Yeah, now we look cute. There we go. Feeling myself today. All right. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Ring the notification bell down below so you get notified when I upload my next video. I'm hoping to stay up with that. I'm hoping to watch some more shows, documentaries, movies, what have you. I can talk about that. I can talk about sports. I love wrestling, so I can talk about WWE. Getting into the world of NXT. I'm a big Joe Hendry fan. Love Jeff Hardy, so you know I can talk about all of that stuff. So yeah, comment down below what you like me to talk about, what you want to hear me say. If you want to just stick to makeup videos, if you want more lifestyle content, me to show you the kind of workouts I've been doing, which is not really a whole lot, but you know, I can do all of that. Just let me know. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.